Mr. Fishof, thank you very much for joining me today. So,
You call me David. My father was
okay.
Mr. Fishof.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, David. uh, I did have an opportunity to watch the movie that you sent me, but I really want to kind of start off with who you are, give a little background,
Right.
if you wouldn't mind telling the story. I know that we have the story. If you go out there and watch
No,
the
it's
movie, you're going to
let's
get
look.
to see that. But
It's. I tell you, it's been interesting because I'm reading Bill Graham's book. I just reordered it from Amazon, and Bill was my idol. He was probably the biggest promoter out there, the original concert promoter. And it started with the Fillmore East, the Fillmore West, and I'm reading his history and because I didn't remember reading the book. I met him years ago when I was producing the Monkees. I used to rehearse all my shows up in the Catskills. And it's funny how we came from similar backgrounds, and the more I read about him, but my dad was a Holocaust survivor. He's a Holocaust survivor. He was, and came to America, and he went to work in the Catskills. And the Catskills is a place up in New York State where they had over 100 hotels at one time. And it was a great vacation. People didn't have, they couldn't afford to fly. They couldn't afford to go far away. So if you lived in the East Coast and you were 2 to 4 hours from the Catskills, you went into one of the hotels there, and you went to one of the hotels and you stayed there for a week. And in that 1 week, for $100 a day, probably, or even less, depending on the hotel you stayed at, you got 3 meals a day. You got a breakfast, you got a lunch, a dinner, and then you had a tea room that was open all day where you can eat cake, and you just stuff your face with all the food in the world. And then every evening they would have a show with a singer and a vocalist and a comedian. And, and these people would go to the shows and they wouldn't laugh. They were afraid to be entertained because they looked at the performer. I dare you to entertain me, because they had gotten all this food for free, and they sat there and they would just felt so stuffed that they looked at the comedians and said, okay, I dare you to make me laugh. So these comedians, they would have to find a way to entertain these people. And the funniest comics came out of the Catskills. David Brenner, Richard Belzer, Henny Youngman, Rodney Dangerfield, Billy Crystal. All these people started in the Catskill Mountains, and they would entertain these audiences who paid like one price to eat all they want, to be entertained. They played bingo all day. They went swimming, you name it. They did every activity in the world. So now these comics had to get up there and they had to make these people laugh. So what do? You got a guy like Larry Best, a very funny comic. He walked out and said, it's a pleasure to be here at my favorite hotel. And you see him look at a piece of paper, the Concord Hotel. And he said, listen, I had a rough day. I went to the dentist today and I had a tooth extracted, and and he'd have to, and all of a sudden you see about 5 chiclets come out of his mouth. I mean, these guys were so funny. They had to entertain these audiences, and they became the best comics in the world. And when Engelbert Humperdinck and Tom Jones saw these comics, what they did to the audiences, they took them on the road. And when these guys went on the road, and then they even, the audiences who paid for a ticket. And that's really where I started. I started in the Catskill Mountains. Every night there was a show. I was a waiter. And we really learned a lot about show business up there, what real show business is. Give them hits.
So there was a point in time, though, you realized that sports was where it was at for you, right?
We're going to get into sports. So then what happened was, now if you saw the movie Dirty Dancing, again, more Catskills. So if you see, it's not in the movie Rock Camp, but I did produce a very successful tour called Dirty Dancing, and really about the life in the Catskills with Bill Medley and Eric Carmen. So I started in the Catskills, and I was booking these comedians, and I would then I started booking these artists, and I would book them in bungalow colonies. I'd book them in hotels. I'd book them wherever I could get gigs. And what happened with them was that we would go to the artists, and we would say to the artists, hey, we'll go to Henny Youngman, for example. And I worked at this company, this agency. And they would say, from Memorial Day to Labor Day, we'll guarantee you, Henny, 50 shows. We're going to book anywhere. We might book you a bungalow colony. We might book you a guy's bar mitzvah. We might book you to open for for Tom Jones at the Concord Hotel, but you're going to get 50 shows and we're going to pay X amount of dollars. Well, that was the first thing I learned, is how to package artists and produce shows. So that's where I got that education from. Now I'm booking these comedians and singers, and I would go to try to get paid from the hotel owner or the bungalow colony owner. And I worked my way up from a waiter to become a booking agency. Now all of a sudden I go after the Saturday night show, I'd go collect the check, and the owner of the hotel would say to me, he wasn't funny. I'm taking off $25. He wasn't that funny. Or the singer, she didn't do a song from Broadway, Fiddler on the Roof, or anything in the Yiddish language. She didn't do it. I'm taking off $50. And here I was negotiating, working so hard to get these people work on such a profit, that I'm staying in a camp, and I see the camp had Dr. J show up and to make an appearance. The great NBA star shows up to this camp. They pay him, I think, $2,500. Here I am booking $7,500 comics. He gets $2,500 to show up, and you see 2,000 kids going crazy. And all he's got to do is dunk the ball, take pictures, sign autographs, and he leaves. I said to myself, wait a minute, I'm in the wrong business. I got to get in this pro sports business. So I worked my way I went to see Larry Fleischer, who was the head of the NBA Players Association. And I said, hey, at the time, I said, could I get some ball players that you represent? And I'll book them in camps and appearances. And he was so nice to me. I walked in, I was 20 years old, and he gave me the opportunity. And he said, here, take these couple ball players, take your commission, and just treat them really well. And I booked a lot of his players, Earl the Pearl, and Darryl Dawkins, and David Thompson, and some great players. And so that's when I decided I'm going to move into sports business. And I went to become a sports agent. And I started representing Lou Piniella, the Yankees, and he introduced me to Elliot Maddox, and then Lou Piniella. And then I started meeting ball players, and Phil Simms and Vince Ferragamo. And I started getting players. Now, there weren't a lot of agents back then, and there were a lot of good agents because people didn't know what to do. I had knowledge from the entertainment business, how to represent people and how to look out for their best interests. So I did the sports for a long time. And, but, problem with professional sports as an agent is it's really it's all about show me the money. I mean, that's the bottom line. And you got to befriend these players, and which is really important. They need guidance. So, I did. I befriended many of them. And as I started doing better and better for these players, and my name got out, so they were calling me. And I was representing these players and getting them great contracts as much as I could at the NFL, because they didn't have the agreement they have now. And but I also had the entertainment business in my pocket, and I was still doing that. So I wasn't beholden to a team owner. So when I didn't get along with the Rams, I made a deal for Vince Ferragamo to go to Canada, because they were going to underpay him, and he had nowhere else to go. And Canada made us a huge offer. So I was able to become a sports agent and really put a lot of time into it. I picked up a lot of the New York Giants. Phil Simms was generous, and he recommended me to all offensive line, and Jim Burton. So I'm doing that, and while I'm doing that, it's fun, it's good, and these guys were great, and they were appreciating everything I was helping them. I then got a phone call one day and said, am I interested in representing the association? And the association was a great band, Cherish, Wendy, Never My Love. I had never heard of them, but I was sharing office space with Shep Gordon, the great manager of Alice Cooper and Teddy Pendergrass. There was another manager who I was renting space from, who was managing the B-52s, the Talking Heads, the Ramones. And all these guys had gold records on the wall, and they were dealing with these rockers every day. And I said to myself, I want to be in this business. So I started, with the association, who was really a no band, not even, it was an oldies band. But I started to work with them, did a great job for them. And then all the other bands, the Turtles and the Grassroots and Spanking Our Gang and Mamas and Papas, and they all start calling me, and would you represent us? I was booking the association a lot. And so I got in the packaging business. I took all these bands, I couldn't find them all jobs, but I started packaging them in a tour called the Happy Together Tour with the Turtles. And I did 130 shows. These people wanted these fairs and these festivals, and these little theaters needed a show. And my rule of thumb was only hits. You can't play any other song. It's got to be a hit song, or else, don't get on
Mm-hmm.
that stage. I say this all the time. If you're going to a show and you have 2 hours of these people's precious time, you better give them the hits. That's it. They're not going. If they want to hear an obscure song, they can stay home. That's usually the bathroom break. So, and I can't tell you how many times I've had fights with artists, big names, without going to names. Oh, I want to close the show with this new song that I have. I said, no. I said, we won't sell any merchandise. I said, people will be bored. I'll close the first half. I said, no. I said, first sell a lot of records and or do a medley of all your hit, but it would really upset me because people want to hear the hits. And so therefore, that's what I started doing. And it became very lucrative.
I was gonna say you're absolutely right. Sometimes you go to these shows and then the bands will try these obscure songs, or they're, hey, we got a new album out. I'm gonna try this brand new one that I haven't even released or talked about. And you're going, wait a second, I spent my money and I'm here spending 2 hours of my time. What is this?
Exactly. And there's some artists who, they treat their audiences like Bob Dylan. You don't know what you're gonna get, and he thinks it's really cool. I think it's absurd. And you can go to one of his shows and not hear "Blow It in the Wind" or one of his hits. So, but now you're gonna go to a show and know you're gonna take what you get. But the bottom line is that I started just doing these package tours where I really learned from the Catskills, and I produced Happy Together 1 and 2, and then the Monkees came along and we going to do them in a package, and simultaneously I was doing the Monkees, MTV. The small fledgling network, as the president at the time called it, decided they were going to promote 24 Hours of Monkees, and my ticket sales went from 3,000, 4,000. They went to 25,000. I mean, 1986 was the biggest year for the Monkees ever, and all of us. And simultaneously, at the same time, I had 8 of the New York Giants, and they win the Super Bowl. So it was crazy, And Phil Simmons writes in his book, he says, our agent was so busy with the Monkees. We had to beg them to come to games, and but they were great. Those Giants were great. You know what? I'll tell you what was great about having sports entertainment. These athletes really taught me how to win. I mean, Lou Piniella was just such what a figure of I know you're in Seattle, and he managed Seattle Mariners for years. He's a winner. Phil Sims, they're winners. They work out every day. They're winners. If you made it to a Super Bowl, you made it to a World Series, you're a winner. And I learned a lot from these people.
Can I ask you something about that? Because you've worked well-known, famous
you can
people.
Ask me whatever you want, because I'm on your show.
Yeah.
You control the dial.
I'm going to call you the boss, though. But like you said, you've learned something from these guys in the sports arena. Now, with the musicians, do they have the same work ethic as far as the go-getter, that killer, attitude? I'm going to get it.
It's a different attitude, but I'll tell you what it is. Now that I own Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, and I run these camps for the last 25 years, and we'll discuss the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many times a musician, a camper will come to one of my camps, and they'll tell me, I fill out the form. I'm really an excellent musician. And then I go to or the celebrity or somebody, and I go to one of the rockers in the counselor that's band, because you get mentored by these rock stars. And I say, hey, is that guy really good? Because I'm not a musician. I've tried. I can't get my hand on the whole and that F chord, and I gave up. So I just dabble, but I'm really not good. And you know what the guy said to me one day? He said, you know what? He's not good. He's okay. He's passable. He's a weekend guy. And he likes to play with his band on the weekends. But the bottom line is a guy like Joe Walsh, a guy like Bruce Kulick, a Kiss, they play their guitar 5 hours a day to get their fingers going, their positioning. A drummer like Vinny Appice, he practices 5 hours every day. These people, to their instrument, they play with that instrument 5 hours, because that's their full-time business.
Yeah.
So they have to be really good at it. So that's number one. That's what they have. The go-getter thing is, some people are just great musicians and artists, and they let the manager be the go-getter. And then some are go-getters because they want to promote their careers. But two things these artists have, I've seen from all my lifetimes. Number one, they have the passion. They have the passion to make it, to become, to be the best of it they can be in their profession. And I was doing 160 of these kinds of interviews over the pandemic. And we did these master classes where we sold tickets. You know, you can talk to Alice Cooper, talk to Roger Daltrey, talk to Shep Gordon. And most of these artists gave the money to their charities, or Styx gave it to their band, and they gave it to their band, the crew guys. But we conducted, Britt Lightning from Vixen, who was my musical director, and we conducted these classes, and they all had one common denominator: passion. Passion, passion, passion. In order to be successful, these artists had the passion to succeed, and the passion of their instrument that's like no other. And, you know, Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, you know, when you see the movie, there's a lot of stories. We showed 4, but, you know, over the years, we could have showed 1,000 stories. And because everybody has a story. And I'll never forget, there's one lady who didn't make the cut, but her story was amazing. She came to Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. She was a breast cancer survivor. She came to the camp that Meatloaf was working at and was mentoring. And I asked her to come back because she wrote a book called Rocking in the Pink about her experience at Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. She was a lawyer. She left camp, and, you know, she wrote this book. And I called her, would you come for an interview? And she came in for an interview. And I said, Laura, you know, it was amazing that, you know, that you wrote this book after experience. But I'm going to ask you a question. When you leave camp, I put you through 4 days of an amazing experience. And it really is. I give you, number one, I treat everyone like they're Ringo Starr, because that's, you know, that's what you have to do. You got to treat them like celebs, and they're celebrities. And I told the rock stars, it's about these campers. We're going to change their lives. We got 4 days to mentor them and change their lives. And I said, when you leave camp, were you depressed? Did you come down? What did it feel like to go back to your job on Monday? And she said, no. She said, David, I learned from these rock stars the passion and the belief and what they're about. And I decided I'm going to take that same, I'm going to take that same lesson that I learned from them. They had an opportunity to, you know, once they left high school, college, to get a real job like me, but they went for their dream, and they went for their passion. And I decided to take their beliefs, and I'm going to put it into I decided I'm never going to walk to a law firm again. I'm going to quit being a lawyer, and I'm going to be a writer. And I am the #1 fiction writer for Amazon today. And Lauren Rowe, and she's written 14 books of fiction, and now they're turning them into TV shows. But wow, what she learned from being around these rock stars and their belief and who they are and what they're about, and comes first. And they didn't follow their parents. Oh, I have to go, you know, go to college, or I'm going to go to college. I mean, Joe Walsh went to Kent State. I mean, so a lot of them, you know, but I'm going to follow my dream. So you learn a lot from the music. So everybody, you can learn a lot. You can learn a lot from everybody.
Well, you know, that's the one. That's one of the takeaways I got from watching your Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp movie, is that the folks that went didn't go just rub shoulders with the famous people, the musicians. You know, there's that one where, you know, one of the guitar players, his son, I think, had autism.
Yes.
And it was about, to me, what I got out of it was connection. And like I said, a passion and drive. It didn't have to be music. They take it home to something else. I love the guy who's the drummer, who had the opportunity. Well, Lenny Kravitz was his friend, and they were in a band together. Then he's got his daughters there, and he's talking about, you know, I went and did something else. I missed my opportunity. But, you know, to me, what I gathered from this is, look what he has. He's got a family. He's still happy. He's still proud. And he went and did what he wanted to do on the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. I mean, the stories that you have in this movie are fantastic.
And we have 1,000 of them. Trust me, we just could, you know, everyone's got a great story. There's so many amazing stories. That's Scott Keller, who, you know, a huge VP at McKinsey, to see what he's overcome with his son. And now, you know, son's coming to our next camp as a family. They're going to be a band. And it really is beautiful. It's really So, and that I love, that's what I love so much about Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp is I'm in a different business now. I'm not in the business of promoting concerts. I'm not in the business of representing ball players. I'm in the business of changing lives and through the power of music. And really, that's what my life's about. And I enjoy it. You know what? I enjoy it much more now. You know, I made a few bucks. I don't have to live on the road. I got married again. I have 2 kids and 2 teenagers. I got 8 grandchildren. And I just, and 3 more kids. I enjoy family. But but I think I put the importance in changing lives and giving back. And you know, my daughter Alana, she's a nutritionist for a company called Beachbody, and she's got 1.5 million on TikTok, and she's called I think Nutrition Babe. That's Nutrition Babe. You know, she posts these pictures of these people, you know, the before and afters. They lost 80 pounds and they lost 70 pounds, 100 pounds. And, you know, she taught these people a way of life, not even a diet. You know, she came up with this concept, water first, veggies most. But what's so cool is that, you know, she's changing lives. And, you know, you learn in life that if you can give and not worry about receiving, it's better in life.
Yeah. And I definitely look at the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp itself as giving.
And it's giving. It's really it's a life-changing giving experience. And let me tell you that the biggest issue we have is fear factor. People are scared. Now, I get it. I'm the owner, and I get it. Why? A very good dear friend of mine invited me to the Michael Jordan fantasy basketball camp that he was running at one time. I said, I'm not going to Michael Jordan fantasy camp. I don't care. It costs you $15,000. I'm not going up against Michael Jordan and looking like a fool. And I'm not going to play with 3 other guys 3-on-3 who play against Michael Jordan and who think they're going to beat him. And, you know, I'm going to score on Michael Jordan. Well, you know what? So that's what happens at camp. People are scared. Oh, I'm afraid to be put in a band. I might not be as good as, and I tell them not to worry. Come, you will see the love that these rock stars have in giving back. I mean, Dave Mustaine, he's doing a camp for us in 2 months. If you can get to that camp, you better get to that camp because Dave Mustaine is the most giving guy in the world. And he, you know, really, you see it in the film, how it's really touching as I think about it, you know, just how much these rock stars from Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, how much they give, Roger Daltrey. And, you know, they've made it and they're live. And now they feel like, you know, it's now my turn to give back. That's why I got Jeff Beck to go to camp, you know?
Well, you know, that's another thing for me too, is that I think that maybe people see these musicians, the famous musicians, and think that they are somebody else or something else. And they don't realize that they're humans and they're people as well. And they have hearts.
100%. They have hearts. They put on their pants. You know, that famous line, they put on their pants every morning, same way we all do.
Yeah.
But yes, we and you have a right to be in awe of them. There's no question that they have extraordinary talent. But at the end of the day, they have families, they have lives, they make their living on the road, you know, and entertaining people, which is a hard life. But you know, and they have their careers are definitely longer than the athletes. But I'll tell you another great thing you can learn from these rock stars. And I wrote a book about it 10 years ago, and it's available on Amazon, and it's called Rock Your Business. Can you imagine how much we've learned how much you can learn from these rock stars who've kept their brand up for the last 50 years, and they're selling out arenas, and they're still selling the Who and I don't know, even the Rolling Stones. You know how much you can learn from them? They're selling out stadiums and they're grossing 12, 15 million a night. Now, let me tell you something. How many businesses, you look back, that were open 50 years ago? I mean, Hertz went bankrupt this summer. You know? I mean, so many brands haven't been able to be as successful as, you know, Kodak or any of these kind of companies, been able to keep up their brands like these rockers who've kept up their brands.
Right.
And they've written songs that have stayed relevant. And so I've learned a lot, but just being around these people, and what an honor to be around these people. You can learn so much. I mean, that's why I'm reading Bill Graham's book over again, just because I want to say, what did I miss? You know, I read it 12 years ago. I want to read it again. And, you know, what made him such a great promoter?
Geez, should I look at you as the Gene Simmons of marketing?
You know, well, listen, Gene Simmons he's I can only tell you, he comes off great in my film. He was really amazing. And deep down inside, that's his personality. Off the field, off the off the stage. But no, listen, he has a persona.
Mm-hmm.
I once asked him, I said, Gene, you come across as, your personality is more like a businessman than a rock star. And he said, there's enough rock stars. I always wanted to be a businessman. So I give him credit. He gives his advice, and look at that brand. That brand is still amazing. They just did a cruise this past week. I don't know. Sold it out and sold $4 million worth of cruises. I mean, they are a smart bunch of guys.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So, kind of diving a little bit more into the movie,
Yes,
Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. So
Right.
what made you decide to make this movie? Because Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp itself, I'm not sure when you filmed it, but it was already around for like 20 plus years, right? 23 years or so?
A fellow named Jeff Rowe approached me, and he was over at VH1. We had done Dirty Dancing, and he saw the success he knew my success, and he came to the camp, and he said, "Are you documenting this? Are you telling the story?" And I said, "No, but if you want to do it, feel free to do it." And I said, I always wanted to get it as a documentary. I felt that it should get out there.
Yeah.
I felt that how many times you go see a movie and you watch the trailer and you go see the trailer, you watch a trailer and then you buy the movie and you're really disappointed because the trailer is so much better than the movie. It happens all the time.
Yes.
Well, the same thing with Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. I couldn't tell the story in a 30-second advertisement or a press review in 2 minutes. You actually got to be there to see this, to see the magic happen. And so when Jeff came to me and said, we want to make this movie, I said, okay. And, I had a few different conditions, but, I said, hey, open book, do what you want to do, but I don't want to be in it. And he said, no, you got to be in it. And I said, no, just start making the film without me. It's about the campers. It's about these rock stars. And, he said, no. So I for a year, I wouldn't be in it. 2 years. It took 5 years to make. And then in the end, I realized that people wanted my story and people, and I didn't give them the whole story in the sense that I did so much more. I did Mortal Kombat, Dirty Dancing. I tried to do as least as I can, but I wanted to really get across who I am, what I'm about. And so I love the way the film came out. I got to tell you, most people, are they happy the way their films come out? No, this, that. I love this film. And it's 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I love the reaction to people give it. And, now it's Direct TV on the 4K channel. And we're going to release it worldwide soon. So slowly but surely, when you're a first-time filmmaker, and, they take advantage of you as much as a first-time actress, or first-time musician. But Doug Blush, who edited it and produced it, also did an incredible job, and he's won a bunch of Academy Awards and he's been around some amazing films.
I got to be honest and tell you, and everybody else that's watching and listening, that's going to watch and listen to this, is that I love movies. The most I've seen in 1 year at a movie theater is 108 movies in 1 year at the theater.
Wow.
I didn't know what to expect out of your movie. I thought, all right, what's it going to be? Is it just going to be some clips of this and stuff? And I'm just, but no. I mean, I got hooked. I honestly got hooked. I started watching this and just watching the everyday people come in. They're talking about their lives. The drummer who wants to be a singer, she came in. This is my third time coming here. It's my 5th year type of deal. And all the musicians, just the way everything was put together in the movie, made it flow really easy, and the time it went by. So
I can't tell you how many people tell me they watched it over and over again because I missed this rock star, I missed that rock star. No, I was really happy when it came out. Now the key is the distribution. It's on Apple, it's on Amazon Prime, and then you can buy it on rockcampthemovie.com for $2.99, and DirecTV if you have DirecTV. But, we'll get it on the streamer too, and then we'll go worldwide. But to me, it was a very hard film to make because, first of all, Jeff went through 3 different directors because they all wanted, it all came out to be an infomercial, and last thing, no one's going to buy an infomercial. So I think the way Doug Blush did it at the end, and he showed it because people do love this experience, but you have to show it's tough and, and show people's lives.
You're absolutely right when you said that maybe these other directors were trying to make it like an infomercial. And that was my fears, thinking, okay, this is just going to be an extended infomercial. They're going to sell me something. And it wasn't. It wasn't. Yeah. Not at all. So,
well, thank you so much. Really, yeah. Thank you.
I will watch it again. Is my entrance code still good? If not, $2.99. I can do it.
It's still good. Absolutely. Just tell all your people and make sure you promote the website, rockcamp.com, and all the listeners to really catch it.
Absolutely. Actually, one guy I was just told this morning that that he actually went to your rock and roll fantasy camp. I think it's two or 3 years ago.
Oh.
So how come I can't? Oh no, he's going to kill me too. We're friends and I'm just coming to.
He's more than a friend. He's a total stranger.
Oh my. Okay.
No, so listen. Oh, it's so sweet.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. I mean, what a gift the guy has, and I hope I hope what I love about camp is we perpetuate these people to start a band, to start their musical careers, and I think what's great about camp is Tony Robbins. I'm a big fan of, and Tony. Listen, he gives off the best information. That's it. He's giving you information. He admits it. It's not all him. He gives you the best from the best. And he says, you want to be successful in something, immerse yourself in it. And that's what rock camp is. It's a 4-day immersion. Immerse yourself into the world of music, and you'll become successful.
Yeah.
What was success? They're in bands. They form bands. They write songs. Unlike being a baseball fantasy camp, at 35, you're done. Your career is over. And you go to those fantasy camps, and the guys are, they all weigh 400 pounds. You can hit the ball. I can't hit the ball over the fence anymore. But these rock stars are still selling out arenas. They're still selling out stadiums. And so you're learning really from the best. And look at Mick Jagger. He's the best example for us. You can still be a performer, and at 80 years old. Ringo Starr is going to go out and tour this summer. He's 81. Why not? Why not?
Can you give a little story background about you and Ringo Starr and starting out the All-Star Band? Because I've seen him 3 times. Love them, and I was bummed the last time that they were out, they didn't come through Seattle.
Right.
Can you give a little background story about that?
Sure. I went to Ringo. I was doing these package tours, and I was doing the Dirty Dancing and Happy Together, the Monkees. And my business, I would go to these corporate sponsors who would really get behind me on these shows, because they were able to entertain their audiences by giving them tickets and meet and greets. And the president of Pepsi came to me and said, hey, put together your next best tour. We love what you do. And I came up with this idea to create Ringo and the All-Star Band. My brother was a drummer, and I decided that, I always followed Ringo, who didn't, and the Beatles. And I was there. I saw that Ed Sullivan show. And so I went to him, and I wrote him a letter. Just like that, I wrote him a letter, FedEx a letter to his lawyer. And 6 months later, I got a call, Ringo's interested in talking to you. 6 months, went over to England, pitched him the idea. I had a bunch of money that Pepsi had given me, guaranteed me that I was going to make. And I gave it all to him. And I said, if you do this tour and I'll make my money when I sell the shows. And he said, I was thinking the same thing. And so we put this band together, mainly his friends, his pals. And we went out on tour, and it was incredible. And you'll see that, I'm a square guy compared to these rockers. And as you see in the film, everyone loves it. It's the story of Levon Helm and Joe Walsh and I. And you see a great fight going on, and you have to watch the film. I'm not giving it away. You got to watch the film to see it. And but we had fun, and I learned a lot, because I never went on the road on all my tours. I'd go out for a week. I'd go out to the big cities, and then I'd come home and go back to the big cities and come home, and I really never spent time living on the road. Because I was always working on my next show. I had my ball players to represent, and but with Ringo, he said to me, when I signed him, he says, "Are you on the road with me?" And I said, yeah, of course, and when I decided I wasn't going to be on the road with him, because that wasn't my life, I finally said, okay, I'm going to go. And I spent my life 15 years on the road. I got to tell you, to be on the road was amazing, to be around him and to see, his passion and the different musicians. It was hard on my family life.
Yeah.
And then when I got remarried and had teenagers, I just didn't, it was hard for me. And so that's why I decided, I want to do this camp full time. And but he's amazing. He's out there 31 years, still doing the All-Star Band tour. My Happy Together tour is still working. Dirty Dancing is still a live tour. So I feel vindicated that I started some great shows and people go and they get entertained by them. And while I don't want to be out there, I really do my rock camp now.
All because your father said, quit playing that bass guitar. You played one show. It's like,
a lot of lessons in that film. That's great. You remember that? Yes.
Oh yeah, like
a lot of lessons, life lessons.
I really watched it, and
yes. I know you did.
Like you said, there's not only does the film give you life lessons, but here again, I say the takeaway for me is just to see at the fantasy camp, you take away more than just the knowledge of playing music or rubbing shoulders with people. You're making contacts with strangers who are musicians, strangers who are musicians that may have this similar problems as you at home. It's just, to me, it's all about this connecting.
It's a connecting, and not only do people make their best friends at camp, the artists have all made their best friends at camp within each other. A lot of the campers and the artists have become best friends. You have a guy who lives in Seattle. I'm not going nameless, but he's best friends with Steven Tyler now. And many of these artists are best friends because, Roger Daltrey said a line to me one day, I see all your campers in the front row of my shows. And I said, you know why? Because they played with you. They jam with you. They're not going to sit in the fifth row or eighth row. They don't know. The last time they saw you was on stage. That's what they think. They can be on stage with you. So, yeah, the relationship has been great. Roger's gotten close to many of them for his charities, and they all built a relationship. And every rock star has really told me, especially the counselors, they say to me, my best friends I met at rock camp. So, no, there is definitely, it's a great way to connect, because, you all have the same interest, It's about the power of music. And in closing, I'll tell you a couple of stories, but one of the ones I love most is Joe Perry, who he was doing a Q&A in a camp, and he turned to a guy and he said to him, so tell me, what do you do for a living? And he says, that question, the guy asked him a question, and he said, what do you do? He says, I'm a lawyer, and on weekends I play guitar in my band. And Joe turned to me and says, you're full of shit. Part of my expression for the podcast, we can say it.
That's right.
He says, you're full of it. He says, you're a musician first. You do that legal bull crap to pay for your guitars. And the guy looked at, yeah, that's me. So let's face it, a musician's a musician, and they'd rather be a musician. And Rock and Roll Fans Camp gives you that opportunity. We have some great camps coming up. We can mention that, but one of the things I'm looking most forward to is Dave Mustaine's my next camp, and you can find the camps on rockcamp.com. But we're doing a women's only, which is really kicking ass. We're Nancy Wilson, you're Seattle again, and Melissa Etheridge, Ori, Orianthi, and Kathy Valentine. You see these amazing people, and it's going to be women's only, and it's doing great. And then another camp, I'm doing the Sounds of Seattle with Jerry Cantrell.
Really?
And Kim Thale of Soundgarden, and the original drummer of Pearl Jam. We're doing a camp. That's the President's Day weekend, also that'll be in Los Angeles. So yeah, a lot of great camps. We're doing a songwriting camp. We have a lot of great camps coming up. Desmond Child. So this has been fun.
Wow, Desmond Child. Wow.
Wow, Desmond Child. Thank you. You said it.
Wow.
Right. If you know anything about music, you know what a genius he is.
Yeah. I'm going to look for an invite for me to come down with my camera to document it for you.
Sure. That'd be great. That's great.
I'll fly myself down.
Okay, good. Yeah. Desmond Child, songwriting camp. Good, we'll talk.
Yeah.
I love your guitars. What your guitars, are they signed behind you or are they just your guitars?
Just here's the bad thing. I can only play one instrument. I've got 34 bass guitars. I still have not found the one that I love. And the bad part is my cheap Dean guitar. I love that. And then I played my Spectre last night at a rehearsal, and I love that sound, but I go back to my cheap basses.
Let me tell you something. It's whatever you feel comfortable with, you know, and it's nice that you can get the variety.
Yeah. So you've got guitars back there, and they definitely are signed.
I can't play. They're all signed for me, whether you know. And I'm telling you, I'm trying to figure this thing out. I have so much memorabilia signed for my entire career to David, that one day I'm going to auction all off for charity. So if your name is David, you can have a great collection.
I have a very good friend named David who is a huge Kiss fan. He'll buy it.
Tell him I got some great stuff. A lot of the Davidson.
You know, I've got, this is totally off the
Sure.
Rockefeller Fantasy Camp stuff, but your personality and your friendliness and your approachability is awesome. It's great. And I want to know, how many scooters do you own?
So I owned one. I had two. I finally got rid of the one. But let me tell you something. I'm not showing it here on the thing, but I just had a rotator cuff surgery. And I fell off my scooter because I was stopping because someone wasn't paying attention and they were coming out of garage. I'm going back and forth. I love my scooter. I love to be outdoors. I'm here in LA. And then, and you know, I love that. You know, I got these people with these fancy cars. You know, everybody in LA's got a fancy car. They got a Tesla. They got a Lamborghini. And I said to them, okay, I love it. They come by. Let me show you my new car. I just bought this Lamborghini. And I'll say to them, okay, let's go. We'll start from my house all the way to Beverly Hills. I'll race you. And I'll be there 20 minutes ahead of time. There's so much traffic in LA that I just love, you know. So I had no problems at all. And this was on a quiet street, and the guy just came out and he wasn't paying attention. And I tore my rotator cuff. So I love my scooters, but because it gets you around. But now I got to question myself. My kids are just saying, Dad, is it enough already?
Well, I had to first go, is that David getting on the scooter? Where's the fancy car? Where's the chauffeur? Yeah.
You know what? None of that stuff. I'll tell you about, you know, like Roger Daltrey, he wears a pair of jeans. He's really one of my idols. I love the way he leads his life. It's about charity, about giving. Yeah. And, you know, it's not about collecting hundreds of cars and things like that. Other people have that. You know, they got cars and, you know, makes them feel good. Simple. You know, the KISS system, keep it simple.
Right.
And I think that's important. It's important. You know what? When you die, all that stuff means nothing. When you're sick, it means nothing. So
yeah,
being a son of a Holocaust survivor, none of that stuff ever really impressed me.
No, it's
too much work. Imagine you own a Lamborghini and you're driving around LA, and now you go to a restaurant and you got to hand the keys to somebody. You know, you spent $400,000, and this guy making $8 an hour is taking your car.
Right.
He's going out for a spin with it. Trust me, he's going with a spin with it.
I'm too cheap and frugal. I'm thinking about the maintenance costs, and
and he's enjoying your car. He's enjoying your car. You know, he's getting more enjoyment because he didn't pay for it. You're nervous. You're nervous. You're so nervous because you're afraid something's going to happen to it.
Hey, David, I know you only have a couple minutes left. Do you mind telling us who signed the guitars that are behind you?
Oh, okay, great. Don Felder. He came to camp. Sammy Hagar. And Sammy's there. Joe Perry's. I got a lot of them around you know. I always ask the rock stars, Dave Mustaine, can I have a guitar? Can I have a guitar? You know, I always want one. And today's world, you have to put, you know, you put your name on it because I don't want them to think I'm selling them. So, and I like having it personalized. They're nice. Warren Haynes. But you know, I've been always collecting them for years. So I have them. Got I got a nice one last night in the mail, unexpected, from Jimmy Iovine. I did his podcast, and it was great. And he just sent me a gift.
Wow. Well, what am I going to send you?
No, I didn't expect. Trust me. If they're sending it, they want something. No, not him. But,
this has truly been a pleasure for me to,
thank you.
To meet you, have a conversation. There's so much more to talk about with you. I mean, there truly is. I really want the people to take away from this podcast is to go see the movie. It's, don't wait for it to come out on the worldwide release type of thing.
Grab it now. Rockcamp.com. You can go to rockcampthemovie.com and you get it for the $2.99. Go to Rockcamp, my website, you'll catch it. And no, really appreciate it. Yeah, no, thank you so much. And we'll do this again. I'm not, I'll have other projects to promote, so we'll stay in touch.
Definitely. I would really appreciate that. And if I don't see that invite, I'm just going to fly down there. I'm going to look on your calendar.
Be in touch with me about the songwriting camp. We'll talk about it.
Sure. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I guess that's it. And I could talk forever, but.
Thank you so much, Chuck.
David,
we'll be in touch.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I just want to say thank you for watching this podcast, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did doing the interview. So please remember, if you're not subscribed yet, subscribe, comment, rate, follow, all that stuff wherever you're watching your podcast or listening to the podcast. And remember, go to bandcampthemovie.com, and for $2.99, you can rent and watch the movie. Again, this has been fantastic, and thank you very much, all of you, for all of your support. So until next time, have a great one, and we'll see you again. So long.